In this episode of Starkey Sound Bites, we're going to pick up on our conversation that began in the last episode about Paul's hearing loss in the early parts of his career. But what's next? This man has written more songs than I can count, and he's influenced generations. He's going on tour this spring with A Quiet Celebration in the United States. And we're going to talk a little bit about how he's preparing for that tour, what songs he selects to perform in this concert. I don't know how he could choose which ones to do, but please enjoy this conversation as much as I did when I got to sit down with him.
I called the tour A Quiet Celebration because, well, for one thing, I need things to be quiet in order to fit my voice in at the level that I need. And the celebration is just on a personal level that I am able to come back and you know, meet an audience again. But I also hope that the songs that I choose and the way the night goes will be uplifting, I don't mean in a corny way, of course. I mean that you'll feel good. You won't be bummed out by me singing my most pessimistic songs, you know.
No.
Oh, I might put one in.
But
otherwise, there's enough.
Yeah.
There are enough really interesting songs of mine that don't fall into pessimistic or optimistic, but they're just kind of observations. So,
well, I would imagine in your repertoire that Sounds of Silence or Sound of Silence, I know it originally was Sounds of Silence. Did you ever envision that taking on the form that it does today with your hearing loss? And certainly that the nature of that song probably changed from when you first wrote it until now.
Well, when I first wrote it, it's much closer to what exists now. When Artie and I first recorded it, we recorded it with acoustic guitars, just acoustic guitars and the voices. And what happened was the record came out and didn't do anything, and then, I don't know, 6 months to a year later, a couple of radio stations started getting requests for this acoustic version. So they went back in with a man named Tom Wilson, who was producing Bob Dylan at the time, and they made it into folk rock. You know, they added electric guitars and they added drums. They did all of that. So that's what became a big hit. But I didn't write it that way. But I'm not sorry that they did it. But in the last at least 10 years, I've been singing that song either accompanied just by my own guitar or maybe adding a cello. So I think the song, it doesn't need
heavy.
It doesn't need it to make its point. And that's what I'll be looking for. I have percussionists, so there will be rhythm, there will be rhythm sounds, but it won't be like Graceland or you know, but just because I can't
overload.
Yeah, I can't handle that.
Yeah, the now Sounds of Silence.
It was originally called The Sound of Silence.
Okay, and then became...
Then they changed it to Sounds of Silence, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Are there other songs that either you recorded earlier or recording now that take on greater meaning in the context of your hearing loss?
I'm not sure that the songs take on a greater meaning because of my hearing loss, but some songs seem to take on a greater meaning because so much time has passed. So, for example, if this is a good example, when Sabrina and I sang Homeward Bound, as she pointed out, neither her parents nor she were born
Ouch.
at the time that I sang it with George Harrison.
Yep, in 76.
In 1976. And, but the fact is that the song that I sang in 1976 had different meaning than it does now. It still has the meaning that you remember from 1976, if you do.
Yes.
So if it's
I do.
if it's evocative of any nostalgia, then you'll get the pleasure of the nostalgia. But the idea is to reinterpret, either by instrumentation or somehow, and make the song as if it was written today. So if I succeed in these type of arrangements, it gives you the feeling of old and new happening at the same time. And that's a pleasurable feeling. People like that.
It resonates
I
with
like
people.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think I'm not lost, I'm familiar with what's going on, but something new is going on that's really, really interesting.
Well, it's like when, my family, we watched American Idol when it was on, in the early days, and we would sometimes see a young singer attempt a song that had a depth that they were singing the words, but they didn't really understand the words. And I thought, Homeward Bound, Sound of Silence, the way Joni Mitchell played Both Sides Now, when she originally recorded it and then later, and you start to see your own, you can do your own interpretation at a different time, and it takes on different meaning because of the passage of time.
Absolutely, and I always say the listener completes the song.
Yeah.
So when you hear, because I don't know the personal memories, but whatever those personal memories are, they mix with a new stimuli, and they produce a familiar but not quite familiar feeling. And that's entertainment.
Well, and as much as I enjoyed You Can Call Me Al with Chevy Chase, I almost prefer the songs without videos, because then it's up to me to create the memory rather than the video. The video, it was awesome. It was funny and entertainment, as you say. But I also like to be able to recollect the times or the meaning that song had to me, not associated with Chevy Chase.
Well, that's a generational divide for those of us who grew up before MTV and videos. The music that we heard. I think this is the most powerful sense.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why I have devoted over 40 years of my career. I love the ear, I love hearing, I'm passionate about it, but the most important thing is I love connecting people to each other. Or you raised a very important point at the beginning of this interview, talking about the way that we connect to each other through music, and the way that you connect to your music when you're trying to perform it. And music, and hearing rather, is the great connector, whether it's music or speech or any other thing. And I agree with you that it is the most important sense, but it's the one that's often taken for granted till it's gone.
Perhaps it is taken for granted, I don't know, but it seems like if you hear a recording of your children when they were 3 or 4, it has even more power than if you see a little film of them when they were 3 or 4.
For sure.
So
I'm living.
Yeah. So all of those things are in play when I go to perform, and because I've been doing it since I'm 15, I'm well aware that these elements are in play and can be moved in such a way that, another thing that I say all the time is the ear goes to the irritant, you know,
Yeah.
which is why
The ear goes to the irritant.
when I'd be performing with a band or rehearsing at a sound check, something isn't right there, you know. And at first, you know, everything is good, and that isn't so good. So, but anyway, the rest is all good. And then finally, you get to the point where I can't stand it anymore. What is it? What are you playing? Oh, I see. Oh, that's wrong. It has to. It needs to be like this. So, the ear and the eye go to the irritant. You know, so
When I saw that again in Austin, when I could see the irritant was really provided by that left ear not functioning as it was, and the musicians were world-class musicians. They were playing their piece, but it wasn't the way you needed to hear it.
yeah, but in that case, there's nothing I can do about it.
There was nothing you could do.
But in all of my arranging or writing, I mean, I don't think I've ever written anything that approaches being a perfect song. So, I mean, you could take any one of my songs that are famous, and I could show you the line that I didn't like, or the melody leap that could have been more interesting if I, you know, did this or that. So, putting together a performance, it has a lot of elements. The key elements are that the music be balanced and interesting and not interfere with each other and the story that I'm telling. So that's what I'm aiming to accomplish in my rehearsals. And that's why I fool around with a speaker here, another speaker over there. If I stand, raise this, you know, maybe I even have to raise the guitar a half inch so it comes a little bit, because the difference is noticeable, like 6 inches difference between the guitar being here or here. It makes quite a bit of difference. So that's what has to be worked out. Can I solve these problems sufficiently to give a performance that I imagine is doing what I used to be able to hear I was doing?
Does that temporal processing influenced by your hearing loss now, or does that should still hang in there pretty well?
That's not affected.
Yeah.
None of that's affected.
Yeah.
And I can still listen to other music, which I don't, but I could, and hear what's going on. And say, oh, I see what you're doing. You know, after being a songwriter my whole life since I'm 15, I really know. I really know the techniques
Sure.
of composing. So I can do that. The techniques, when combined with some sort of inspiration, is what produces a really good song. If it's just technique, it's good, you know, but it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's not an unusual arc for artists to start off with a burst of almost spiritual creativity, and if they have long careers, to end it with technique. You know. In my case, what was unusual was it started off with that burst, The Sound of Silence, Bridge Over Troubled Water, those songs. But then it happened again when I was 45 with Graceland.
Yeah.
So,
And I would argue it's happening again
And maybe you could say the same about Seven Psalms.
I think it does. Like it came to you in a dream, right? I mean, or a series of dreams.
Yeah, Seven Psalms had a kind of spiritual story to it, which is a little bit, I don't know. It would be a cliche if it hadn't actually happened to me, you know. I would have said, yeah, you dreamed it, yeah, you know. But no, I actually did, and it actually came in spurts that I could measure. And yeah, that was the last fulfilling thing that I did, and I did it just at the beginning of the hearing. I finished just at the beginning of the hearing loss.
Right. And it's designed to be 7 songs, 7 psalms, but it's designed to be listened to in 33 minutes and 21 seconds or whatever the overall. And every time I listen to it in its entirety. And I pick up different things each time.
Well, I'm glad. That's good. When we play it live, that's the way I'm expecting that it will go, that it'll be a through piece for however long it is, 34 minutes, however long it becomes. But I don't know, people might applaud it, but I don't think so. If I get all the sounds flowing correctly, and I have these musicians, almost all of them they're really old friends and dear friends, so that they really know how I think. And it's funny, this is the first band that I'm playing with that has nobody from rock and roll in the band.
Interesting.
You know, people who are familiar with it, who've played it, but that's not where they come from.
Right.
You know.
Well, I really look forward. You've got 3 tour dates scheduled for Minneapolis, and when you're there, I would hope perhaps we could have the opportunity, if you have any downtime, I'd like to invite you right now to come to our world headquarters. We got a lot of scientists and engineers there.
Oh, I'd love to.
And I would love to have you come over. It's hard for me because I listen, as I said, to the 7 Psalms, and my favorite song within the 7 Psalms has changed numerous times. But I wondered, the love is like a braid. I lived a life of pleasant sorrows until the real deal came along and broke me like a twig in a winter gale. Did hearing loss have anything to do with that lyric?
No.
That was more COVID, or?
No, actually, you're right. It did.
I thought it did.
It did. I don't know if that's what made me write it, but at a certain point, I thought,
It felt very personal.
These other pleasant sorrows are kind of indulgences, and then something happens that's really breaks you, and that happens to so many people, who are just struck by some misfortune or turn of health, or I mean, it happens so often, and that's when you can think, well, this other stuff that I used to complain about, I
thought was a big deal.
Yeah, I was kind of having a good time, really. Wasn't I?
Beautiful lyric, and that one just once it resonated with me, I can't let it go.
Thank you.
Well, I really look forward to continuing to work with you. I'm so glad you're wearing your hearing aids. I know they don't give you the sound that you want, but I think we're doing the best we can with what the auditory system today can provide. I'm optimistic that during your lifetime there will be solutions, but we're going to continue to, I want to continue to get whatever latest advances we have on fixing without being able to go in and fix the hair cells. Hearing aids can't do that.
No,
but I think
not.
At the same time, we're going to continue to try to work on improving the sound for you. I'd love to have you come by when you're with us at the end of April in Minneapolis. I plan to be at least one of the shows, and I can't thank you enough for sitting down with us, and also to borrow from, love is like a braid, life is like a braid, and I appreciate that I've wound a couple strands into, and you've been able to share some strands into my life story a little bit.
You have.
And,
thank you.
And I thank you so much, Paul. And the
Sure.
world is, I can tell you, still starved for your musicality, your poetry. We need some positivity right now. We're in the midst of a lot. I was supposed to go to South Africa this Wednesday, and like you, I was going to Joburg, and it has a special place, but I have a special place back in Minnesota with my grandson soon to be born.
Yeah.
And like I said, you have a knack for, we have a knack for scheduling times to be together around the birth of my grandchildren. So I want to thank you for that. And thank you for all you do. And thank you for sitting down with us.
Oh, of course. Thanks, Dave. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for our listeners. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like it, but I know you will, because it's not often you get to sit down with one of your heroes and the legend in music. Thank you.